Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the Dragon Momoko Master Grade 1/100 scale Testament Gundam, and yeah, this thing is pretty awesome. I guess technically, before I was doing this review, I was kind of doing a little bit of research because I'm really not all familiar with like the story behind the Testament Gundam or exactly what its like specifications and capabilities and things like that are. So I was doing a little bit of reading about it, and this I guess would actually be more correctly classified as the close combat form of the Testament Gundam. I guess it's normally white, but then when it enters into close combat, the phase shift armor changes to red for whatever reason. I don't know if that's explained in the story. I guess it's probably just for like intimidation, I suppose, but that was pretty interesting. There was quite a bit interesting about this Gundam and exactly what it can do that I didn't really know, and it was interesting to read a little bit about that. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the story, definitely check that out. That may make you a little bit more interested in the mobile suit itself. One other thing that I did learn from that was about the very unique V-fin that this kit has, which I think is really cool just because it's unique, but to learn what the actual reasoning is for that made it even more interesting, in that apparently the yellow part of the V-fin, the big parts that stick forward, is actually a special device called a Mirage Colloid virus spreader. So basically, I guess what it is it spreads a computer virus to nearby mobile suits, and then the Testament pilot can then take over that mobile suit and control it or shut it down, or it can even like block its sensors so that the Testament Gundam would basically be invisible to it through its sensors. So it's a really cool thing that has that. I guess that was taken from other Gundams in the story, or from another Gundam in the story, and then utilized into this Gundam. So this is kind of some cool stuff about it. But anyway, let's talk about the kit. The kit itself is really nice. Dragon Momoko has done a really good job with this kit. A couple of really small complaints though, just about the quality control. That front part of the V-fin, the maroon part that attaches onto the front of the yellow part, is super loose. When I attached it on there the first time, it still stayed on there fine, but as soon as it fell off once, it never would go back in there again. Just no way it stayed in there. So for now, I just have a tiny little piece of tack in there just to hold that in place until later, whenever I can paint it, then I'll just glue it in there permanently. But just be aware of that. Also, I had a couple missing parts from my kit, actually. I had two parts, and they were actually quite important parts, so I couldn't actually finish putting the kit together until I had those parts. So I ordered this kit from Samuel Decal, so I just contacted him. I said, hey, I'm missing these two parts, and he got those parts actually sent out to me straight away. Actually, he sent those together with the replacement parts for the Cute Cube wound wart, actually, so it kind of worked out that he was already sending me that anyway. So other than that, the kit is really nice. All the details, all the panel lines, everything is all really nice, really sharp. There's very little flash on the kit. There's very little in the way of fitting issues, aside from what I already mentioned about the V-fin. A couple parts on the back of the mobile suit that are a little bit loose as well, but otherwise, the fitting is really nice. All of the quality is really quite good, so very happy with that. So I know some people get nervous with third-party kits. They're not sure about the quality. That is a very fair concern to have, but from my experience with the recent Dragon Momoko kits, that is nothing to worry about, so that's nice. Anyway, here on the face, you can see I do have the foil stickers there on the eyes. It did come with a bunch of other foil stickers. These are mostly for like different small little color apps of gray and dark maroon, and then there's a couple there for the cameras as well, eyes, and then the camera on the head. We do have a clear green part for that camera on the head, so I just stuck with that for now, but did use the foil sticker there for the eyes. The face, it looks a little bit derpy. I'm not really too happy with that line straight down the middle of the front of the mask there. I don't really like that detail. I don't really know why they did that, but anyway, that's what we have, unless you want to fix that yourself. So the articulation of the head will really only be going up to about there, because it's blocked by this kind of cowl there on the back of the head, very Astray-esque in that one. But down, though, is not really going to be too much of a problem. There is no cockpit opening hatch, so if you guys were wondering about that, there is no way to open the cockpit for this. It does have the single gun there, the mounted kind of Vulcan gun, the seed version of a Vulcan gun there on the front of the chest. It's a nice little bit of color separation there. On the top of the shoulders, we have these things here, which are kind of silly, but I guess those provide a little bit of extra cover there. The shoulders will move up nice and far. You can move this part here separately. Some nice detail up underneath there as well, all around nice detail. That will move up to there, so nice reach vertically with that arm. We have a nice double joint here. All the joints are actually quite stiff, but that is better than too loose, so nice double joint there in the elbow, full bend there. The wrist is just on a ball joint. No other articulation here at the base of the wrist, just the ball joint there. As you can see at the moment, I just have the closed fists on there. We'll talk more about hands in a bit. In the stomach section, we do have a little bit of forward bend there. So you can see it will bend a little bit forward and back and side to side, a little bit like that. Quite nice, actually. Here on the back, these are the parts that are a little bit loose. These parts here on the side can tend to pop out quite easily, so those I'll also just glue when I'm done painting it. Obviously then here in the waist it also rotates. The front skirts will move up really only to about there before they're starting to hit the torso section there. The hips have the joint that will kind of rotate up and down, so you can kind of rotate that down and a little bit forward, and that way it can bring the leg up, forward, and out a little bit more. When we bend the knee, we don't get any armor separation in the thigh, but we do get an armor separation there in the knee, with some nice details all around, so that's looking quite nice. The bits of silver plastic, if you're not going to be painting the kit, I think this is going to be one of those kits that is going to look really quite nice. Even if you don't paint it, you just go in and just panel line all the little details, give it a coat of matte top coat, and it'll be looking pretty good. I love the legs on this kit. They're super nice looking. I just like the shape of them, really nicely shaped. Nice small feet. I prefer just having like smaller feet like this on Gundams than like really super large, unless they're like long and pointed. Those are pretty cool too, but I really like the shape of these feet quite a bit. Up underneath the feet, some nice detail there. The back of the legs, nice detail all around that. Back skirts will also move. Those are joined together. The side skirts will also move. The beam saber handles are just mounted there on the side skirts. And that's really all you have for the mounted weaponry, just the beam sabers there on the side skirts and then that gun on the chest. But we do have a lot of accessories for this kit. So first of all, just a reminder that we have this nice big beautiful waterslide decal sheet. And I mean beautiful, these waterslide decals are really, really nice. We do have some options here if you want to go for white, orange, or dark maroon for the color of some of these. For these like lining parts, you have the option of dark maroon or white, and then some of these larger logos there, which are going to be hard to see on camera, but those are just only in white, but you do have some options. And then we have hands. So here are the articulated hands, and as you can see, all I did was cut these out from the runner and attempt to pose them, but these hands suck. They're terrible. Don't plan on being able to use these articulated fingers. They're just really bad. They're just nub marks all over the place. Once you go through all that trouble of actually removing all the nubs, then they're just super weak. They break really easily, and the backs of the hands don't match all the backs of all the other hands, so they just don't look right. The backs is much larger as well, so these hands are just no good. Those are going in the trash. But as you saw in the kit, we have a pair of closed fists. We do also have a set of open hands, which look like this. Beam saber holding hands, or if you want to just have them just giving a thumbs up, you can do it like that. So one of those for the left and the right, and then trigger finger hands for the left and the right. So I love about these kits that they give you just a set of just fixed pose hands, and you can just swap them out. That's, in my personal opinion, the best kind of hands that you can have. We have our clear pink beam saber effect parts for this, and again, these are pretty much just copied from Bandai's 1/100 scale beam saber effect parts. I really wish that these third-party companies, especially like Dragon Momoko, if they're going to go through the trouble of designing all this kit, why not just design some new beam saber effect parts that are a little bit more interesting looking? I mean, these are fine and they're canon-ish, I guess, but I think they could design them just to be a little bit more interesting, and that would definitely make this kit definitely stand out a little bit more. Just have that one little extra bit of spice there. We of course have an action base connector, which will just attach up underneath the crotch like usual, and then onto your standard Bandai action base. Then we have the Divine Striker Pack. So again, once this is actually on the kit, then it is, I guess, technically the Divine Testament Gundam. But anyway, so this is just a striker pack that will connect onto the back in the same way that the other striker packs connect. So you can actually swap this. You could use this with a different kit, or you could use different striker packs with this kit. That was also kind of one of the things of this Gundam. This Gundam was kind of created as a way to test out the different striker packs anyway. So one point of caution though, I actually broke this peg. This one here, which plugs into the backpack there, when I was taking this off, I had it all connected, and then when I went to take it off, I forgot that this peg is not just a completely circle round hole, that it has like that bit of a shape to it. So I just like twisted it off because I thought it was just a round peg, so I was just like twisting it off and then just completely twisted off this peg. I glued it back on. The glue should hold, at least for the review. Probably putting a little brass rod through there will be the best bet. Or what I'm probably going to do is just not even worry about that. Just when I paint it, I'll just glue it in place permanently on there. I'll just pick a pose or pick a kind of how I want it to be equipped and then just stick with that forever. But hopefully that will stay together for the review and that won't break. I'll be able to show you guys as much as I can here before that peg breaks again. But the pack here is really nice. On the front, it's got these little teeth here, which will come apart like so. And then of course the wings will open up like that for when it's kind of in its flight mode, when that's attached onto the backpack. It's kind of very similar to the Justice Gundam, which we recently looked at. You can also just attach this directly onto the arm and just have it used as a kind of claw melee weapon. So that is another really cool use for this. And then the real highlight here is the Triceros Kai shield for this. So very sharp and pointy looking shield, and these plastic parts are very sharp, so do be careful with that. It's got these 3 little claws here on the inside, which are just on ball joints, so those will all move individually. They're like so. These yellow bits on the side can also rotate around like that, just a little bit of rotation there. This whole sections on the side will rotate like this, can kind of close in. Those are supposed to kind of like close around the arm when you have this connected onto the arm. As you'll notice inside here, we have 2 of the different handguns. We actually have 2 of each, so 2 of this style handgun and then 2 of this style handgun. This is actually the style of the Testament Gundam, and then this one here with the extra blade, and it's kind of a different shape and have the extra blade attached onto it. That's actually for the custom Testament Gundam, which is used by a specific pilot, and those are kind of his like specific custom handguns that he uses. So it's nice that they included that. So it actually, if you wanted to have it in that specific pilot's custom colors, you need like a white stripe across here. It's like running down the leg and then across the chest. That's the kind of specific paint scheme for that custom pilot. And then it's nice that they just included that anyway. So you can just hold this in the hand just using this handle here, or you can just remove that handle and then use this part, which will fold out here, and then that will attach onto the back of the arm. So you can attach that onto the back of the arm, kind of close this around the arm like so. One other thing I should also mention about these though is that you have a connection piece which will allow you to connect the handgun into the shield, but you only have 1 of each, so you only have 1 for this style handgun and you only have 1 connection piece for this style handgun, so you can't actually have, like, if you wanted to have just both of these attached, that won't work, unfortunately. So it really would have been nice if they would have given you 2 of each different kind of connection piece. The other thing is about these specific handguns, they do like kind of open up like that, and then this part actually rotates. And this part does actually rotate as well. It's a little bit harder to do it, but it's just kind of an interesting little point of articulation. I think doesn't really matter for anything, but if you were interested in that, it does do that. So yeah, that peg that I was worried about breaking, it broke as soon as I attached the backpack onto it. So I did have to take a couple minutes to go ahead and drill that peg out and insert a brass rod into there, and it should hold just fine now. Anyway, so that does happen. This kit is of really high quality as far as third-party kits go, but of course it's still not quite there. It is still going to have a couple of small issues. Sometimes you may have to fix things like that. I mean, it's very easy to break pegs on Bandai kits as well. It just kind of happens when you're not careful. And so yeah, just kind of something you have to learn how to deal with in different ways. And as you can see, up on an action base, it is going to be looking pretty nice. The articulation of this kit is really good. Fantastic frame, fantastic articulation there. No problem getting into some pretty awesome poses when you got it up on a nice action base. Another small issue that this kit does have is holding the weapons, unfortunately, and it's not really that big of an issue, but it is definitely another thing that you will just have to do a little bit of modification just to be able to hold the weapons, just because the pegs that are on the hands don't actually fit. Well, just the hands don't fit on the weapons. Either the beam saber handles, the fingers don't really fit on there properly. I'm kind of got it barely wedged on there at the moment. And then for the holding the pistols as well, you're definitely going to have to modify that. Some people warned me about that before, so I kind of knew that was going to be an issue, so I did have to kind of fix that a bit. So that is an issue. You will just have to cut away a little bit in the hand there to get that to work, and then I would pretty much just basically plan on having your trigger finger hands permanently attached onto your pistols if that's what you want to do, however you want to pose it. So just something else to think about with this kit. Other than that, as you can see here, all those bits of pointy yellow and silver and everything on there is just going to make this a really popping, eye-catching design, I think. So I mean, that's not really to do with this particular model kit in general, it's more to do with the design of the Gundam itself, but it's definitely going to be one that stands out. So that is just about going to do it for this review, guys. As with all third-party kits, this is going to have its imperfections. It is going to take a little bit more work than your standard modern Bandai kit, but as far as third-party kits go, this kit is actually really quite nice. There is a lot of really nice stuff to like about this kit, some cool gimmicks, some cool weapons, some cool features. Again, it is going to take a little bit of work, but not really all that much. I did also forget to mention that that front blade, that center silver blade on the shield, can also be removed easily, but there's not really much that you can do with it. I think according to the story, it's supposed to actually be able to extend sort of like the shield or the spear on the stray gold frame of Matsumine, the spear that kind of extends out. I think it's supposed to be sort of like that it's supposed to extend out, but it doesn't do that. But it is, by the way that it's designed, it looks like it would be very easy to modify that, so that you could just add a just rod of plastic in there, or just cut off a bit of runner and just kind of modify that so that that could actually extend out. But anyway, that's something that you can experiment with if you're so inclined when getting this kit. If you guys still do have any questions or comments about that, just go ahead and leave those down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.